We are all playing it up, playing it down, trying to play fair, playing for keeps, playing favorites, playing it safe, sometimes too safe. He plays hardball, but they're playing house. I'm playing it by ear, or at least learning to play it by ear. She's tired of playing second fiddle. He's playing right into their hands. Please, can't we just throw out the playbook and start again? Sometimes we're just played out. It's not always bad to play possum. And what about playing with fire? Let's hope so, friends. Don't you want to feel again that burning within and let it loose? In this moment, may it begin. In this moment, may we play. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. My name is Lee Moranto, my pronouns are he and him, and I am today's worship associate. If this is your first time here, we're very glad that you've come. This is a welcoming congregation, and we are always working on how to better welcome and care for one another. Whoever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. As we begin, we want to acknowledge that this church occupies land in Huichin, the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. We understand that we continue to benefit from the seizure and occupation of this land. We acknowledge and embrace our responsibility to take restorative action. We affirm that this is deeply felt and commit our congregation to be in right relationship with Indigenous communities, aligning in solidarity, supporting Indigenous projects, and caring properly for the land. Please take a moment now to prepare yourself in your space for our time together. You might get a candle and a way to light it so that you can join in the chalice lighting at home. And I'll do that now. Now, let us kindle our candles, or the inner flame of our hearts, with the words of Scott Taylor. Let this dancing light be our guide. Let it lure us into letting go of the worries, of the stiffness that sets in after all the striving, of the myth that productivity alone gives us purpose. This garden of life we've been given is a playground. The weeding can wait. I invite you now to share in the comments where you are by writing, "I carry the flame in," whatever town or city, fact or fiction, you are joining us from. And now, please join us in singing our opening song, "Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky." The words will be on screen. Please join me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
Tis a gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift to come down where you ought to be. And when you find yourself in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight.
When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be true, tis the gift to labor till the day is through. And when you find yourself in the place so fine, will be in the cool of the birch and the pine. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
Tis the gift to be joyful, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift, tis the simple gift to be.
And when you find yourself filled with pure delight,
the gift to be simple has led you aright. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right. In the place just right, till by turning we come round right.
I am the Reverend Catherine Boyle. My pronouns are she, hers, and hers. And this is the time for all ages. So if you're young or young at heart, get close. So today I have the story of two friends. Let's begin. Once there was an elephant who lived in a grand palace of a king. Every day, her keeper gave her all the rice she could eat, all the cool shade she could lie in, and all the deep pools of water to splash and play in. One day, while Elephant was enjoying her midday meal, a stray dog wandered in and went to her side. Then the dog began feeding on the small lumps of rice that fell at Elephant's feet. So yummy and pleasant was that experience that dog returned again and again to eat alongside the big elephant. Soon the animals became friends. After their meals, they would play together. The dog would jump and sit on Elephant's trunk, and the elephant would swing the dog back and forth To swing on an elephant's trunk was a lot of fun. And to have a happy dog swing on her trunk, well, that was a lot of fun too for Elephant. And soon they were very close friends. If for any reason Dog did not come to the meal, Elephant would worry. She was unhappy until Dog appeared again. One day, after some time, a farmer came to the village and came to the stable, and he saw the dog playing with Elephant. And at once this farmer wished that the dog might be his, so he asked to buy it from the elephant keeper, and the keeper sold the dog. And that night, when Dog did not come to lie down to sleep beside Elephant, she began to worry, and the next morning, when still there was no dog, Elephant felt so sad she refused to eat her rice. And when no one played with her the next morning, she refused to eat her grass. And the following morning, the keeper couldn't even take her out to a pool for a swim. Day after day, Elephant seemed to care for nothing at all. She would not eat, she would not bathe. Finally, the keeper sent word to the king, who sent his advisor to look over the elephant. The advisor looked at the elephant up and down. But he could find nothing wrong with her. He said to the keeper, "There's nothing wrong with Elephant. Nothing wrong with her body, but there is something wrong with her feelings. She seems to me to be sorrowing over something. I wonder if she's lonely for someone. Is there another animal she used to play with? Someone she is lonely for? A friend?" "Why, yes," said the elephant keeper. "There was a stray dog who used to come here every now and then, now that I think about it. And they used to play together all the time." "Well, where is the dog now?" asked the advisor. "A man came and took the dog away," said the keeper. "Do you know where that man lives?" "No, I do not." The advisor returned to the king and told him everything. Upon hearing this, the king, he made a proclamation, and he commanded that it be known to all the villages of the town that someone had taken his beloved elephant's beloved friend, and that person's house in which the dog was found would have to pay a fine if they did not return the dog at once. Well, as soon as the farmer in the far-off village heard of the king's proclamation, he was frightened and let Dog out. On its own accord, Dog ran all the way back to Elephant and rubbed up against her leg, sticking its wet, furry nose into her. And this made Elephant very, very happy. Immediately, she lowered her trunk, and the dog hopped up, and the elephant curled her trunk with the dog and lifted him up and down, and then trumpeted a happy call that was heard all the way to the palace. The elephant let the dog slide down her trunk and onto the floor, and then they ate a meal of rice together. Once more, all was happiness in the elephant's house.
We've come to the time in our service that we make for our hearts and our spirits, for our cares and our concerns for one another. We lift up and hold the joys, the sorrows, the cares, and the challenges we may each be facing. During our time of silence this morning, I invite you to share any joys or sorrows or significant milestones of your own in the comments section. I invite us all to hold these cares in the compassionate embrace of this loving community. Let us join now in the spirit of meditation for a reading titled Joy by Terry Pahokee. I've been wondering what the morning glories know. Is it envy that compels these vines to strangle other flowers arising in their path? Or perhaps self-preservation to climb these walls, forsaking humbler beings, winding greedy stems around the trellis in their hungry pursuit of light? Still, every morning, basking in their spiral shadows, I want to believe it is something more. This fevered yearning to open purple flowers, to yield bold throated glorias in the sun, and in the blaze of the afternoon to curl petals softly into shyness. And every morning I plead with these dew-moist buds to know their secret joy, to open and close without holding, to surrender all to light, to sing that I am completely yours over and over again. And now, in the spirit of these simple flowers, let us join in singing, "'Tis a gift to be simple."
Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
I have many memories of my childhood where I was completely absorbed in play. My summer memories in particular are a kaleidoscope of images of riding my bike, running through sprinklers, diving into swimming pools, and being outdoors. Back then the rule was we had to come home when it was dark. During the summers in the San Fernando Valley, that meant 9:30 p.m. some nights. I don't even remember stopping to eat or drink, frankly. I really looked forward to spending 2 weeks every summer with my cousin Kino. My aunt would pick me up and take me back to her house and where Kino and I would play. We were 6 months apart, but we shared a brain. Each and every day of my visit, we were completely consumed by some world we had created. It usually involved saving the entire world from bad guys. His dad was a firefighter, so sometimes we were firefighters. Not only was this play just loads and loads of fun, it was my safe place. Having been gendered female at birth, I took advantage of these play worlds that Kino and I created so that I could be a boy. I would even articulate it. When we played our firefighter game, I remember saying to him, "I'm a boy firefighter for this game." And Kino would always respond immediately with, "Yeah, okay." He had no judgment about it and even acted as if it made sense to him and that's how it was supposed to be anyway. The combination of the play and being able to perform it as my most authentic self are some of the happiest memories of my childhood. I don't remember playing much once I had become like 12 or 13. I think by then other concerns of mine were pretty paramount for my life at the time. And it actually wasn't until I had kids that I was brought back to the notion of play. And I realized how important it was for me when I see how important it is for them. And I see that it's how they process a lot of the world around them. And I see it's how they try on new identities or parts of themselves that they want to explore, just as I was doing that with my gender as a young child. And just as it was my safe space, I have worked to create a safe space for my kids to do that as well. And I appreciate it. And when I join in with their play, it's one of the ways that I'm able to be really present with them and where we can share some really wonderful memories. So I really love this theme, and I hope you've appreciated how I've played with my role today. And I invite you all to some play the next time that we are in community together. And now a reading by Stuart Brown, a leading researcher of play. After 5 hours of driving over the tire melting highways of the Nevada and Utah deserts, I am beat. My yellow lab Jake shares the emotion. He is draped across the back seat, all the air let out of him. The last 10 miles of our journey are an unpaved, rattling road up to my cousin Al's ranch, so it is a half an hour more before I shut down the engine and the dust cloud that has been following us blankets the car. Then something miraculous occurs. I open the door for Jake and he freezes. Every sense a quiver. He instantly takes in the whole scene. A bright August day, 4 acres of pasture, a dozen horses, my cousin Al, his 4 kids, and 2 other dogs. A light breeze rustles aspen leaves, wafting scents of hay and horses across the Utah ranch. It is dog heaven. In half a second, Jake is flying out the door, a blonde blur zipping toward the pasture. He races at full gallop one way and reverses, paws tearing up the dust in a skidding turn, then accelerates to warp speed in the opposite direction. His mouth is agape, the corners pulled back in a canine grin, his tongue lolling out to one side. Jake blasts into the maze of animals without hesitation. I freeze and worry about the horses and worry about how the horses will react, but they don't shy. In a flicker, the horses are jumping and trotting. It seems that we all, adults, kids, dogs, horses, recognize that Jake is consumed with the joy of play. All of us are caught up with him in the moment. Jake initiates a free-for-all game of follow the leader. He darts from horse to person to dog to pony to person and back to horse in an outstanding display of speed, athleticism, and pure exuberance. Jake shoulder checks another dog and sends him flying, but he doesn't lose a bit of speed, and the other dog is right back up and into the chase. The children squeal with delight and run after Jake as he does figure eights. The adults are soon whooping and running. Even some observing magpies get caught up in the act, swooping over the melee. The moment is captivating, gleeful, unexpected, and short-lived. After 30 seconds, the horses scatter and the dogs lie down, panting and cooling their bellies in the grass. All of us feel completely exuberant. We catch our breath and laugh. The tension and fatigue of the drive has fallen from my shoulders. The kids are giggling. The rest of the day has a lightness and ease that I hadn't felt for a long time.
This dog was about to be lunch. Now, don't worry, this dog is not Jake, the one from the reading you just heard. This dog's name is Hudson. It was in northern Canada, and the ice hadn't fully frozen yet, so the polar bears weren't able to begin their usual seal hunting from the ice. Now, Hudson was one of the more rambunctious huskies in his pack, and he had been tied up a little ways away from the rest of the camp. So when a 1,200-pound hungry polar bear began his approach, Hudson was in real trouble. The problem was, he didn't know it. As the bear slowly stalked up, Hudson bowed and wagged his tail. Look, a new playmate. Now here's the crazy thing. The polar bear decided that a new playmate sounded like a good idea after all. The two of them romped and played together for the next 15 minutes solid. They wrestled so energetically that at one point, the bear laid on his back for a timeout. After a while, the polar bear went on his way. But apparently he liked his new playmate so much that, to the astonishment of the growing number of people who had come to watch this unlikely pair, the bear came back every evening of the following week for more. Play is a powerful thing. For Hudson and the polar bear, play transcended the physical need for food and the survival instincts of fear and flight. The drive to play blew all of that out of the water and united these two species that may have never played together before. First, Hudson's bow and tail wag, his invitation to play, and then both of their play signals were universal enough for both the bear and the dog to understand each other. And they sure had fun. Take a moment to think back about what play has been for you. What do you remember as one of your most joyful, playful experiences? What was going on? Where were you? Who was there with you? And what were you doing? And most importantly, how did you feel during that favorite memory of play? I imagine that these moments are quite different for each of us. Maybe a time playing on a huge pile of dirt with other kids in your neighborhood. Or perhaps when a team you played on or rooted for achieved a significant victory. Maybe when you got a new personal best in something, or when you explored someplace you had never been before, either with others or by yourself. Maybe you learned something new or experienced something for the first time. It could be anything. Dancing a favorite dance, enjoying a new book, making a collage, anything. Getting in touch with these play memories may be easy for you or may be more difficult. And remembering them in detail is even more difficult for many of us. So often, play is relegated to being a childhood activity, and as adults, we may find more and more distance between ourselves and these unrestrained, playful moments. And since, by definition, somebody made up that about adulting, that play isn't productive. I don't like that definition of adulting, though. But anyways, because of that definition, the value of play can seem to go down for us as our pressure for productivity increases. Now, there are researchers who specialize in play. Doesn't that sound like one of the funnest jobs in the world? Come on now. They do this by observing people and animals at play, wiring up folks' heads and looking what happens to their brains as they play. And they come up with all of these definitions for play. Now, these are really all over the place. Apparently, play defies definition as well. These researchers also work with people to open up what they call play histories. That's a little of what the questions I was getting at were trying to prompt. A play history is a series of questions that's really a journey back through our entire lives to where we experience joy through playing, to see what our attitudes towards play are and identify what might be our own play personalities. And usually the goal is less about information and more about empowering folks to find ways to bring joy into their life in the present. Now, I admit I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to play, or maybe I'm just a great big kid. In my office, I have bins of toys for kids and for the adults, bowls of clown noses, hand puppets, and a number of rather silly hats. I have bouncy balls and cush balls, and a few containers of multicolored Play-Doh around. So It's probably not surprising that as a college student, I worked at one of the capitals of play. I worked at Toys R Us. Talk about fun and a less than stressful place to work. Being at a toy store, it was just understood that fun and play were inherent in much of what we were doing. Even scolding and reprimands from management weren't quite as sharp as they may have been, or maybe should have been at some times. Each of us got to find ways to specialize in what we enjoyed, at least as much as our positions would allow. The folks for whom building things was play were the ones who, guess what, put the bikes together. For the competitive folks, we were so sorted into different teams and could earn points for improving the workplace in various ways. One of the things that I love is puzzles. So when one of the managers asked me to work on learning how to identify the bikes from just their boxes, I jumped at it. Now, the problem with the bike boxes is that they all looked almost identical, especially when they were stacked on super tall shelves with only the end of the box showing, labeled with mostly black and white text. It was one big puzzle to me, though, and after a couple of hours one day, working out many of the patterns between brands and the different types of bikes, I had them down pretty well. And then I had fun remembering the puzzle every time I was sent back to pull a bike from the storeroom. And now, after the store was closed, that's when it really came to life. No, not the Toy Story toys came to life. It's when the employees got to come to life. I remember races to put carts of toys away. And okay, I admit sometimes we would get the floor samples of the Power Wheels vehicles and just drive around in them while we were cleaning up the store, or perhaps pretending to clean up the store. More than just things that we do, though, play is a state of mind. When asked to work on learning the bike boxes, it could have felt like just another task to do, and a difficult one at that. But instead, I took it on as a challenging puzzle and turned it into a game. For the folks who put the bikes together, it could have just been a required number to assemble and be done with work for their day. Instead, they'd race against each other, joking around the whole time, and we'd have exploratory surgeries on toys that weren't working. Like the Tickle Me Elmo that came in during the season my job was processing the broken toys. Elmo wasn't laughing. Tickle Me Elmo, come on, he needed to laugh. And we just had to figure out why. Play is a state of mind. Researcher and medical doctor Stuart Brown, who has done a good amount of research on play and founded, get ready for it, the National Institute for Play, tells us about a time when he was interviewing Nobel laureate scientist Roger Guillemin and was being given a tour of his lab. Guillemin seemed like a kid showing off all the exciting things in what must have been the most expensive playground he had ever played in. Dr. Brown recalls him saying with joy, "Releasing factors, Stuart. We've discovered releasing factors," whatever that is. Play is a state of mind, and it is a primal action, one that is fundamental not only to humans, but to many other animals too. It is one of the purest expressions of life. To play, let me go so far as to say this, to play is a sacred act. There's a concept in the Hindu tradition that codifies play as the source of reality. The word lila in Sanskrit represents pastime, sport, and play. It isn't any play, though. That word is the creative activities of Brahman, the absolute divine being. The creative work of the gods is play, and the result of that creative play is the creation of reality. Playing is sacred work. And aside from just being by its fundamental nature joyful and pleasurable and fun, play actually does a bit more than this. Dr. Brown experienced this so poignantly in his work together with Bob Fagan, a leading expert in animal play behavior. Fagan was working on a long-term project observing play in a group of grizzly bears and invited Dr. Brown to come along. Here's his story of that day. We were about an hour's light plane ride into the pristine wilderness. The feeding bears we had been watching over those 2 weeks were round-bellied and high-spirited. 2 juvenile grizzlies were approaching each other and began a playful wrestling match that proceeded over several minutes across the whole field, splashing, circling, pirouetting, and embracing. Fully aware of his encyclopedic knowledge of animal play, I asked him, "Bob, why do these bears play?" Without looking up, he said, "Because it's fun." No, Bob. I mean, from a scientific point of view, why do they play? Why? Why do the birds sing? Why do people dance? For the pleasure of it. He wasn't done, though. "Bob, you have degrees from Harvard and MIT and an in-depth knowledge of bears. You're a student of evolution. You've written the definitive work on mammals at play. I know you have more opinions. Tell me, why do animals play?" After a long silence, he reluctantly answered the question. Here's what he said. "In a world continually presenting unique challenges and ambiguity, play prepares these bears for an evolving planet." Let me say that one again. In a world continually presenting unique challenges and ambiguity, play prepares us for an evolving planet. Challenges and ambiguity that face us at every turn? Oh, yes. In our lives, our families, our community, in the work we feel called to do in the world, challenges and ambiguities are ever present. How can we not only survive, but thrive, growing stronger instead of being worn down? I propose that a sense of joyfulness and playfulness are what we need. A sense of joyfulness and playfulness foster and grow our resilience, especially in the face of the trials and challenges that we come to. Being playful strengthens our own personal resilience and sense of hope. One person who I've seen as being one of the most resilient people I know once described how he went about getting through challenges that seemed like they were too much. Challenges where getting to the end was difficult to imagine. He described treating them like play and imagining each of the different steps as a game to get through, and then celebrating each accomplishment along the way. Play has the potential to transform the way we think about what we're doing. It has the potential to transform. There are plenty of studies that look at what happens to our brains when we're playing, and nothing lights up our neurons and pathways like play does. Play has the power to transform. When the hungry bear approached the playful husky, that moment was transformed from a fight for survival into a trusting friendship that kept going from even that moment. The grizzlies are transformed through their antics and romping, making a difference even when they're not playing. Animals who play more are found to have survival rates higher than those that don't. In a world continually evolving, presenting unique challenges and ambiguity, play prepares us. Play makes us resilient. My challenge for you today, and in this month where play is our theme, is to find ways to let go and to play in whatever form feels truest for you. Play brings us to life. It shares that life between each of us. May we find ways to infuse our lives and our world with play, making it not only a regular practice, but a spiritual practice. I hope that through play, we may more fully realize our potentials and our possibilities, seeking to make the most of the joy and the resilience that playful spirits and playful times inspire. Blessed be.
As we commit together to making this a loving community, we take time to remember that UUCB needs our gifts and support. We invite you now to make an offering. Each week, Half of our offerings are shared with a good neighbor organization who needs our financial support. And we hope you will continue to practice generosity with them during these difficult times. This month, our good neighbor is Yanima. Yanima exists to provide comfort and strength to families impacted by gun violence in Richmond and the surrounding areas, and to facilitate a pathway to wellness by providing comfort, navigation of services for victims of violence, and often funds for burial. Offerings of any value are received with gratitude. Details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as our offertory begins. Thank you. Please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. It's been really great to be together today, even virtually. Before we shift to our coffee hour on Zoom, may I remind you to check out all the things that are available in our congregation, even during the pandemic, by exploring our website, UUCB.org. There you'll find a link to the news and the week ahead, our weekly email newsletter, which includes a list of activities, announcements, and contact information. As we prepare to leave the worship service, here are a few things to note. If you won't be joining our virtual coffee hour, please check out at 12:30 today the LFDC to discuss The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together by Heather McGee. The Zoom info can be found online at uucb.org under the Week Ahead tab. Also, please make a note of the upcoming General Assembly service on June 27th. Definitely want to check that out if you can. Also, please check out your local Pride celebrations so that you can show your support for yourselves and your community. And if you're an ally, please show up and show out. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge that this is my last service as a worship associate as my term is ending. And I'd like to just say thank you. It's been a privilege and an honor to share this platform with the other wonderful worship associates, ministers, and guest ministers. They each put so much heart and soul into every one of these services each week. And it was this group, along with our broadcast and our music team, who came together and ensured that we had a service every week during the pandemic. In particular, I want to make mention to our broadcast team members. These are the folks that are doing the technical piece of these services, these virtual services. And I don't know if you know this, but they all have day jobs and families and other responsibilities. And this is not what they do for a living, yet they came together to make sure that we didn't miss one service during this unprecedented year. So I wanted to acknowledge them and their work and the work of all the other folks, the music team and the worship associates who put together these services. It's really been an honor and a privilege to work alongside you and with you in this capacity. We don't have a tech team or IT department. It's our volunteers who step up to do this work. I'm going to miss my worship associate comrades very much. And I would like to thank Melissa Rosales for serving with me as co-chair of the Worship Associates. It was a pleasure to work with each and every one of you. It's been a wonderful community. Finally, I just want to thank you, UUCB. I've shared that the last 18 months have been very challenging for me personally. And when I was at my lowest point, many UUCB folks showed me and my family grace, generosity, and loving care. This is a wonderful community, and I look forward to celebrating service with you all in person as soon as it's safe to do so. Have a great week, and I wish you all a very happy Pride Month. Now please join me in singing our closing song. The words will be on the screen.
May you find and relish your moments of play in the coming week and in your unfolding year. May those moments grow and multiply, infusing our lives with joy and with hope. May we all find ways to be part of the whirling, joyful dance of our lives, both here and as we go about our work in the world. And remember, you're never all alone. Blessed be.